here. And so, yeah, we're going to start in just a minute. We're going to start right now, really. But I want to tell you all to, if you have a notebook, take notes. Really good to take notes in this, because at the end, I am going to stay till every single one of your questions are answered. I promise. Every single question will be answered. To the best of my ability, I'll stay till I can see them. Occasionally, I miss one, and if I do, you can send me an email. And there's also bonuses for people to stay at the end of book. You can get the whole slide deck if you stay to the end. I will send some stuff by emails, but I won't send the slide deck or the book. So that's to stay to the end. And so great to have you guys here. Let's jump right into it. Today, the topic is international recognition for artists. I'm going to be talking about galleries, residencies, grants, and patrons. And for all of you that are here to the end, you will be able to get the slide deck for this. That's not available by email or follow-up emails. You will also get one of my books on funding, and you'll get all your questions answered one at a time when we get to the end. So again, close all browsers if you have any other open or mail programs, and let's get going. Take notes. Yeah, take notes, meaning any questions. If you're here to the end, you will get the whole slide deck, so you don't have to write down the whole slide deck. But if you have questions, write them. Some questions may be answered through the course of this, but write them down, and I will answer every single one at the end. So today, the topic is international recognition for artists, and this applies to people anywhere in the world. It's about getting international recognition, and it's through some of the venues and places that I'm listing below. Galleries, we'll talk about residencies, grants, patrons, how they all work together, how to access them, and what that has to do with international recognition. So raise your hand if you feel like you're trapped under a mountain of unsold artwork and rejections with nowhere to turn or no solution and no art avengers to rescue you. Or you yearn for something revolutionary and life-altering that you can finally become the person who doesn't have to worry about obscurity, right, and rejection and making a living as an artist, and instead focus on the things that bring you joy, like a good book, a nice bottle of wine, theater with friends. If you want to do it all, get it all, and win it all without endless phone calls, emails, and business stuff, or making a fool of yourself in front of people you despise. Because you just want to make art, right? Not spend all your time promoting it. I get it. So maybe you didn't know that this is my wife and I. We were in the Whitney Biennial, which was really prestigious, show of a lifetime for me. I got this show without being represented by a gallery. I wrote to them directly. The art world makes it intentionally mysterious, so it's harder for you to break in. They'd have you believe you need something else, like an MFA, or to be beautiful or have groundbreaking work. But none of that's true. I'm here to tell you that's BS, that you need someone else to or make different work, or you need to approach it differently. I should also mention that you'll get a free PDF copy of my book, Fund Your Dreams Like a Creative Artist, and the slide deck if you stay to the end. So, okay, how do you know you're in the perfect place? This is for you if you're an artist that wants more recognition. This is for you if you're sick and tired of paying for shows or enduring rejections from grants and patrons, getting radio silence from galleries and residencies, or toiling away in obscurity and making less than artists who are worse than you. This is for you if you're done with high-priced consultants with no guarantees, MFAs that teach you how to defend your work but not how to sell it, and the mumbo-jumbo you often hear from the art world. This is for you if you're looking to understand how the art world really works so you can exhibit more this year, get international visibility, and sell your work at high prices. This is me. I'm an artist, educator, Yale University, radio host, and author of 6 books and over 1,100 interviews. That image is from Rizzoli Bookstore, a gorgeous bookstore where I launched my first book for artists, making it in the art world. And since then, I've interviewed over 1,100 artists and curators and museum directors on Yale University Radio. And those interviews on my program at Yale University Radio is what I continually draw from. It's not just my own experience being in biennials or other shows, but the experience of artists that I've worked with and practicing artists that are working all over the world, the US, Europe, Middle East, Asia, all over the world, and what their experience is and how they get funding, how they get shows, how they get to do what it is that they do, which is to make art and to get the international attention that they are. So, let me start by telling you something no successful artist will admit in public, right? And after all, that's why they call it an inner circle, right? I think you've been lied to repeatedly, insistently, and shamelessly by the art world. Perhaps these lies aren't meant to be mean, but they often prey on your worst fears. Lies like you need an MFA, or you need to be beautiful to make it in the art world, and you must sell online, just do more marketing. And the most insidious of all, that you need to be young or odd or avant-garde somehow, that nobody wants straight painters who make beautiful images. This is exactly what's kept you lost, confused, suffering in obscurity, spending money you don't have, wasting time you like to spend with your loved ones, right? Or ignored with art unsold, paying for storage instead of getting paid to exhibit your work, and isolated from people you love, alone in the studio and getting hassled often by your spouse to give up already because you're not showing or selling work. So no more. Now you're here, you're under my wing, under my care, and that alone should make you want to breathe a big sigh of relief, because I have proof of what I'm saying. So how will the next 90 minutes, it'll be less than that now, flip your life around? Well, first there's wiping the slate clean. This is where I'll turn every single thing you know about the business of art and getting international recognition, and you'll just sit there with a happy look of, oh my God, on your face. It's where you get to steal all my secrets. This is where you literally get to steal my praxis method and make it your own. So you never have to listen to the art world tell you why you can't be successful unless you're young, beautiful, and political with an MFA and trendy avant-garde work. And keys to the kingdom, as I call it, being blown out of your chair and into a new world where humiliating rejections, paying for shows and art storage, and slaving away in obscurity don't exist, and you live the life of the successful professional artist, exhibiting and selling work, and getting the recognition you deserve, like some of the most 100 powerful people in the art world. Do you know about that list? Every year you see this list of 100 most powerful people in the art world. And that list, which now many magazines create, artists are right at the top there. How does that happen? We're going to talk about that. So wiping the slate clean. Why do we have to wipe the slate clean? So first, there's the danger of the wrong method, right? Artists are usually told to apply to international residencies this way. Just fill out the form, write a good proposal and statement that matches the residency mission. But when you do that, rejection happens. The advice is similar for galleries and grants too. So, for instance, write a terrible statement, and as a result, your work is undermined and your application is thrown out. Over the last 5 years, I've interviewed residency program directors, gallery directors on Yale University Radio, and hundreds of students that get accepted into residencies. And one thing they have all told me is that you should definitely send in the statement that you have if you're a masochist who wants rejection, because statements tend to undermine work. Then there's the method, right? The danger of the wrong method of resource and execution is lost opportunities, lost grants, and lost opportunities. So the wrong resource is looking in the wrong places for residencies. The wrong execution is, of course, not applying correctly. So here's some irrefutable proof. 30% of almost all applications are rejected for common errors and off-topic writing. Nothing to do with the art. Every year since 2005, applications by artists for grants and residencies have dropped. Possibly because it's assumed in a poor economy there are less grants or more competition. So it's time to drop preconceived ideas about your potential to win grants, residencies, and gallery representation. The global art market was valued at almost 64 billion US dollars in 2017, up from 57 billion the previous year. I owned a gallery for several years, and that's where I learned about how bad artist statements can ruin good art. You know, I'd see great art, often that was sent in. I'd read a statement, and it would undermine it. One student that I've worked with applied for shows just like she was told after getting an MFA. And it took her years later to learn that galleries were rejecting her because her writing was too full of jargon, in a word, pretentious. But that's what she learned to do at school. That's what academia is about. And, you know, it's not always easy to see where you're going wrong initially. So next time you feel like blaming yourself for all your problems, remember this: not all of that is your fault. It's a systematic, diabolical plan to keep you there. And today we're going to demolish that evil agenda like I demolish my favorite ice cream, mint chocolate chip, when I'm in the mood. So let's begin and get into the details of all of this. And remember that I'm going to answer every single one of your questions at the end, so take notes. I've developed a system I call the Insider's Roadmap for International Recognition that gets you your first international residency and exhibit in the next 6 months, plus your first $5,000 from a patron to fund your residency without the humiliation of rejection, the silence of an email that hasn't been responded to, or endless phone calls, emails, and business stuff, so that you can exhibit more, sell your work, and get recognized by the international art world in as little as a year. Even if you are not young, trendy, or don't live near a big city, don't have a fancy MFA, or suck at writing. So here is the Praxis method for international recognition. I've been teaching this for 11 years. I've gotten incredible results that you'll see throughout here. You know, hundreds of students getting shows and residencies and getting funding for their studio from patrons and grants. The students I've worked with taught me so much about how this system works, as well as hundreds of people I've interviewed. It's more than just a few steps. It's about seizing opportunities out there, and there is no shortage of opportunities. There are thousands more galleries than there were just 2 decades ago, more collectors, more residencies, more opportunities to take advantage of. There are, yes, more opportunities for grants. The chance of receiving them is often higher now, because in poor economies, in right-leaning governments, which is almost everywhere, we assume there's no shot for artists. People stop applying. So let's move into this. Here's the roadmap I promised you. The way you get seen internationally is you have gallery shows. You have residencies in different parts of the world, because there you meet curators, and that helps with shows. You enter museums and biennials and other international nonprofit exhibits, and you get grants and patrons to fund all that. It's simple, isn't it? Now, let me break that down to the roadmap I promised you. Then I'll give you the exact steps to take. So first, there's residencies. What are they? What happens during a residency? And why are they so important? You know, residencies are often fully funded if you're accepted into them, and you can meet curators and make art in your studio. It's where lifelong relationships begin. It's also time to make work and enjoy yourself. You will have time to work. You'll have time to talk to other artists and see what other artists are doing who are traveling and showing their work. You will see someplace beautiful in most cases. You'll confirm your identity there as an artist, and that feels really good. The support of a residency is great. I feel that residencies are very important because it gets you out into the world with your peers, and you'll get support from your fellow artists, and especially curators, who are the people that can invite you to shows they're putting together. However, if you do not want to travel, you can skip this. But don't you want to travel? So, you know, there's a number of things that happen, just to be clear. You know, your ideas are really important, and I'm going to get into more details of exactly what to do at the residency, um, and talk about specific details of that. So galleries are the other pillar. Biennials, nonprofit centers. The part of your future that probably seems most exciting is exhibitions. So let's begin with galleries, right? What are they and why are they important for international recognition? The importance of commercial galleries, because I'm going to talk about nonprofit spaces, of course, good commercial galleries, is when your art is sold to good collectors. You are now in collections that are seen by curators and museums, and your work is in the context of other important artworks and also in an international context. Nonprofit centers are also really, really important because they have a role that is essential in getting you international recognition, and they also support gallery sales. So nonprofit centers and biennials are also are very important for your career for two main reasons. Gallerists often tell me they discover artists in nonprofit centers. That means alternative spaces. That does mean biennials. That means sometimes artists run alternative spaces. Nonprofit centers are not commercially oriented as they don't sell art. So you can do whatever you truly want to do, and you will be judged on merit, not sales ability. This is really important, that you can be judged on merit and not sales ability. So I want to talk about international biennials because they're part of that nonprofit world and essential. And I'm going to talk about why they are important to international recognition. International biennials are also nonprofits. They are the most prestigious showcases in the world in many cases. It gets you international attention. You get into catalogs often. The one I got into is the Whitney Biennial. I've been in others, in Ljubljana, but it's run by the Whitney Museum of American Art. It was a huge thrill for me and a pivotal moment in my career. Biennials are the largest and most prestigious international showcase. Getting into one leads to more. When I got into the one in Ljubljana, that was just by invitation. I didn't apply or ask, though the Whitney Biennial, I did write to them. Then there are grants and patrons. Funding is essential to an artist's career, and there are two ways to get funding for your practice, be it political art, paintings of landscapes, or difficult and uncomfortable themes and ideas. It doesn't matter what kind of work you do. It couldn't be, it could be protest art. It could be very political. This is often where grants and patrons come in, as well as supporting traditional work or work that's not political or socially motivated. So we're going to talk a little bit about grants and what they are and who they're for, and as well as patrons. So let me explain a little bit about both. Grants are gifts of money to individual artists to either, one, continue what they're doing. That means no strings attached, merit-based funding for your practice, like the Guggenheim Fellowship. That's $41,000. Two students have gotten that, pretty cool grant. That's for US and Canadian artists only, though. And grants can also be to support a particular project or idea. So there's really two different worlds of grants, right? There is the one that's just merit-based. The Guggenheim, you get $41,000, more or less, and you do whatever you want with that money. It's not earmarked for something. There's nothing you have to show them afterwards. I mean, you go to a party, there's a number of things that happen there, but it's not like a grant that's to support a particular project or an idea. A particular project or an idea, for an example, is like a film or something like that. Mural, you could be an exhibition, all kinds of things, a residency. Patrons are individuals that have a lot of money and they set up foundations to give it away. So the reason they do that is they get tax breaks for that in almost all countries, some form of a tax break. So if you're a millionaire or a multimillionaire or a billionaire, you put a certain amount of your money into a foundation. That is a nonprofit foundation, and the purpose of that foundation is to give away money. Then those foundations, have criteria, and they give money to different individuals. So with patrons, though, you're building a relationship. They don't want anything from you in exchange. They just want to see you doing what you love. It's not about what do you have to give a patron. It's the same when a patron gives to a museum. They don't get something from the museum except the pleasure of knowing that the museum continues to exist and flourish. So that's the summary so far. I'm going to get into detail on all of this. But let's step back for a second and ask the perennial question: why is that artist with a big show and lousy art doing so well and even has the best critics singing his praises, right? Haven't some of you seen that situation? So that lousy artist, or that artist whose work is not as good as yours, let's say, because you're all artists, and when you're looking at a show of work and the work is not as good as yours. So he's applying to international residencies and using that as his foot in the door to meet these powerful curators, which then get him into those big shows. He's also applying to grants, right, to fund his residency and practice. Most artists don't apply for grants, and every time there's a bad economic outlook or president like the one we have now, there are less applications because everyone tends to think that arts funding is over because nobody else is applying. That makes it very easy for that lousy artist to basically get that grant. So if you're not sure I'm telling the truth about that, the proof is to go to that gallery where you see the artist and ask for the artist's resume, which they always have on hand, and you'll see exactly what residencies they went to, what grants they won, what curators they have worked with. It will all be spelled out quite clearly on the residency. So here's something that an artist wrote to me just recently when he used this kind of idea to go to a gallery and say and find out why that person got the grant. And what he said was he asked discreetly the director of a major local art center how and why that happened. And she said she was a very nice person, took the time to show me. She opened a file drawer, pulled out several examples of applications for grants and residencies, and one by one showed what selection members look for. In more than one case, she admitted, here's some work everyone loved, but the proposal is so sloppy, inarticulate, and disorganized. While in this case, here, though the proposal is not so interesting, it is succinct, neat, complete, and was received on time, giving us the confidence this applicant can do what they propose without supervision. That, she said, was the difference. So, it's how the whole thing was put together. Not so much whether or not it was the right art or something else. It was anyway. That's how it works. That's how that can happen. So here's exactly what I do. The steps I take between now and August if I were in your shoes and wanted to get my first international residency and exhibit in the next 6 months, as well as $5,000 from a patron or a grant to fund it. This is a roadmap to get you your first international residency, as I was saying, in the first month. So pay close attention because I'll lay it all out for you as I promised, step by step, month by month. It will work from wherever you start, but I will start with April and end in September. Okay, so first, in the month of April, you determine the residencies you will target, and you make a list of residencies you can apply to. But where do you find these residencies? Some of them are Artist Res and Residency Unlimited and Rivet. So here's Res Artists, a place anybody can go to. You are, as you see, they say we're a network of over 600 centers, organizations, and individuals in over 70 countries. Each of our members is dedicated to offering artists, curators, and all manner of creative people the essential time and place away from the pressures and habits of daily life. These guys are great, really good ones. There's the ones they have in here tend to be good ones. That's why I'm showing you this. Another one is Residency Unlimited, great organization. They also are a online public place you can go to, and you'll see a whole variety of residencies from all over the world. You can even sort with them by what's funded or not funded. Here's a place called Rivet, which has a whole number of residencies, opportunities, and you can even search within Rivet by ones that come with funding, ones that don't come with funding. A great resource for international open calls and all kinds of things. So the action item would be make a list of 20 residencies. Every month, Praxis students get a list of residencies. So if you want someone else to do all this work for you because you don't have the time to do it on your own, or because you aren't good at online research, that's okay. It's something Praxis Center can help you with. Just wait until the end of the webinar and I'll discuss what kind of additional support is available. So you have to choose which residencies you'll apply to, right? There's 3 criteria all the residencies must meet. 1, they must have curators coming through and public lectures and discussions, or it's a waste of time. They must have funding to pay for you to come unless it's in your hometown. And they must have a proper studio for you to work in. And if a residency doesn't meet these 3 criteria, then it will be a waste of your time and money. It won't get you any international recognition because you need all of these things. You need the curators, you need the funding, and you need a good studio and a residency. So the thing to do is evaluate your residencies using the 3 criteria and strike off any that don't meet the target. So some of the mistakes are made is artists pick a bad residency. They end up with a high-priced studio in another country and they get no curators or connections. Or the residency is a good one, but the artist doesn't know what to say to the curator when they visit your studio during the residencies. Those 2 mistakes rob you of money and leave you feeling like you can't talk. Both are horrible feelings and often stop artists from moving forward. Sometimes it's not easy to tell if a particular residency meets these criteria based on publicly available info. In that case, you want to ask a mentor, an art world insider for advice. Like, I can't find enough. What's the inside word on this residency? Is it respected in the art world? Or so I'm not sure about this residency because there's a fee. What do you think? Is it worth spending my $5,000 grant for a month there? As a Praxis member, you can ask me. You can ask other experts in the group, and you can see if any other Praxis members have been there before. And many have. So in May is when you put your application materials together and send out your application to the residencies you choose. And keep in mind, I'm giving a lot of resources here in a roadmap. You can do these in different order. You can choose not to do some of these, but I'm going through a very specific roadmap so you can see one plan. All of you are different and you can swap out portions of this and adjust it in a variety of ways. So you can contact the residency. It's something that enough people don't do. When working on your application, you can call them up in almost all cases. You can definitely email them, but I encourage you to call them up because they're there to answer the phone. What they want is good applications. So if you're unsure about what to write or you get to something that you don't know how to answer, ask them and they'll clarify it for you. That's what's great about residencies. They want good applications and they'll help you. So here's the application ingredients that you'll be dealing with. There's your biography. It should be about 250 words. That's your bio, which I know is pretty short. Keep it very concise, third person, and the same format as what authors do on the back of books. Very simple. there's just the facts. Your statement is about why you want to go there. This is not an artist statement. This is where you shine. This is where you explain why it would be helpful to be in that environment and community. And this is where you can talk about ideas you are working on, questions you have, and experiments you want to do. Then there's your website, which must be up to date with a blog on it and good navigation. Blogs are important on websites. They're a way to always add new things to it, and they show fresh information. And your art, you should just pick the best images that are photographed professionally. No hot spots, not being out of square, because that stands out as amateur. So by best images, I mean not necessarily what you think is the best art that you've made. It should be that. But I mean the works that photograph the best, because there's a difference between just what is your favorite work and work that looks really good in a photograph. So to go through these, your bio is often confused with the artist statement and often gets mixed up. Your bio should be in third person, not first, and keep it at 250 words or so. Mention education, a bit about who you are and where you live. Again, a great model is the author's bios you'll see on the back of their books. You can often substitute the bio for a resume and CV, especially if you have a very short resume or a very thin CV. Your bio in third person prose is a good replacement for that. A CV is your resume or a list of exhibitions and shows. So the artist statement, to be clear, it's a recent invention. It's a post-70s, mid-80s invention, because all of the conceptual art that could not always be photographed. So a statement was allowed to assist you. When people were making applications in the 70s and 80s, you know, there was art that was being made then that felt needed explanation, right? Because it wasn't apparent through images. But then, so generously, the room for an artist statement was made, but then it became the norm. You know, here, put your artist statement here. And it's the strangest piece of writing ever. Like, what is it? Is it a manifesto? Is it a statement on who you are or why you make art or your personal philosophy? You know, it's all and none of those things. So my suggestion is generally avoid the artist statement at all costs, you know. That's what I would suggest. If you must write one, keep it simple and understandable. And never explain why you make art. Never. It's something people do. So instead, either explain your process, or if you want to get intellectual, just make an analogy to a book you're reading. That works really well, or a movie to give an insight into your work. You know, instead of talking about the work, it's not a bio. It's always written in first person. It is your statement. So keep it short and clear and readable, meaning it's worth reading. Your website is very, very important, as it's the first thing most people see when looking at your art, right? It's essential. It should be very simple to navigate. A blog on there is a must. A bio should also be there and well written. It should not be a giant archive to go through, but a carefully curated collection of your best work that can be seen easily. You know, people will decide in the first 10 seconds if they want to keep going. Unfortunately, that's how behavior works on the internet. So you have to go slowly. If you need help editing and writing your application materials, I will tell you more later, because there's an editor waiting to look at your writing and help, and I evaluate all members' websites personally and give advice to improve them, but more on that later. In all applications to residencies and anywhere else, your art really must be photographed professionally. Or if you can't get that done, do it yourself, but just be sure there's no hot spots of light on your work, and that it is square in the frame. And of course, good lighting is a must. And so the critical piece of information that must be in all applications to residency grants and even patrons, so that you can dodge the trash can, skip the long line, and become a finalist, is your ideas are interesting and that you show that you're a sensualist. that means you're interested in the world, in people, in art, in collaboration. In short, you are hopeful. And, that may seem obvious, but it's often not there. If you were inviting 11 artists to stay for a week in your home, what kind of people do you want to be around? It doesn't mean your art can't be about a critique of politics or a critique of the gallery system or attitudes in the world or cultures or anything like that. But without a sense of hope, it's hard for them to want to invite you, because it's critical, because a residency is a community, and they're not looking for hermits that don't converse, or are very dark. They want to be able to love you. They want to be able to support your work. And you have to do this in an organized way, of course. Otherwise, there are big mistakes. When artists leave that out, they end up unintentionally sounding hopeless, or at least not a people person. And again, this is a subtlety that's in the writing, but you want to be sure that doesn't happen. If you're talking about politics or climate change, that's cool. That's all fair game. But if the tone of how you're writing it sounds so dark, that there is no hope, and your investigations of it then become something that's kind of just very dark and not hopeful. And art itself is hopeful, right? You're writing about something dark, you're writing about something horrible, you're trying to bring light to a situation that needs it badly. And of course, if you don't, that makes an application fail immediately, because we all want to be around nice people that inspire us, especially residencies, not the opposite. The organization of your thoughts is also key. But even if you're organized, it's important. What I just said becomes even more important. So apply to as many residencies as you can by May 31st. This is just how I'm laying it out. You can do this in a lot of different ways. And again, it's fine, as I was saying, to like dark art, to make dark art. It's how you're presenting yourself in the application that's key, because plenty of political artists are in residencies, by all means, not all. But if you are a praxis student and you need specialized help on any of these steps, we've got you covered. You have access to a professional editor. I'll review your website, make suggestions, and you'll have step-by-step course on this process. So the residency. In the residency itself, you'll have a studio to make art. But it's also there in the residency that you meet curators and start building relationship, because now you have curators in your studio that could put you in biennials and international exhibits. That's how you get these big shows. As the curators come into your studio, the work will begin to speak for itself, of course, as it should. However, it's time to have a conversation about the work. This is the crux of the residency and what will either make or break it. So research the curators so you know about them. Talk about ideas related to the work, books you are reading, questions you are thinking about in your process, how you make it, not why you make it, but how you're making this stuff. That's all. But that won't be everything. That's huge. The mistake that's often made when curators come into an artist studio is the artist doesn't talk or ask questions, or the artist explains the work too much, or the artist isn't listening closely to the curator, because they'll be saying articulate things most likely. And worst of all, the artist doesn't know who the curator is. And you'll know who's coming to the studios in these. So it's really important that you talk to them, and you know who they are, that you research them. So avoid those mistakes, get a conversation going, and you're at the top of your game, and you'll get recognition. If you want more help with that, or with a conversation or someone to practice with, I will tell you about that at the end of the webinar. Now, you'll be talking to other artists and hear about more shows and galleries. Remember the importance of nonprofit centers that I was saying? The reason shows there are important is because you'll meet even more curators there. The residency is where you will learn firsthand about more of these centers. Funding is what happens in the next month. So June could be the month where you receive your acceptance to attend a dream residency. Now you want funding to get to it. If it's not a fully funded residency, but let's just assume that it is. So that means grants and patrons, which is step 5 and 6 in your roadmap here. Let's start with grants. Grants are what makes the art world go round. It helps artists all over the world make painting, sculpture, films, music, performances, and more. It's how art centers, all kinds of places flourish. The best places to find out about grants is your local library. I'm serious, that brick and mortar place. Your local library will usually have a grant section. Just ask the librarian, where's the grant section? Now, there are other places for grants, and you can search online. I've given you some of the resources, or use a comprehensive directory like the Foundation Center in New York City, which is free if you go there in person and has many locations. This is what the Foundation Center looks like online. And you can see there's a way to search it. Online, actually, they charge you to use this service. So you can go there for free, but they charge you to use this service online. There's a lot of other ways to get it. I list grants regularly too, but you can look for different things, like specifically grants for individuals. So what do you need to do to apply and secure these grants is really the question, right? So here's what I recommend. After you research, then the process begins to fill out the grant. And this is the method I suggest. Put the deadline in your calendar, and 2-week reminder, 1-week reminder, and 3-day reminder. So, you have a deadline, let's say August 1st. Put a 2-week reminder, 2 weeks before that, 1 week before it, and 3 days before it. Otherwise, it's hard to get organized. You'll do it at the last minute. So at the 2-week reminder, read the whole grant. It's not so long, but this is the big mistake everybody makes. They don't read it through. Then begin filling it out. Because you might find that after you read it through, oh, this really isn't for me. I shouldn't waste my time. At the 1-week reminder, finish it. At the 3-day reminder, it's time to polish it and show it to a friend or teacher. Grants are won by writing a clear application, but also by being sure the grant is a fit for you and aligns with the organization's mission. Grants are also won by submitting more than one. It's a numbers game. Successful grant writers keep using the same materials and apply for multiple grants. They're easier to get than you think. It's not nearly as competitive as you think. The Guggenheim Foundation, a huge national grant for Canada and the US, got under 1,000 applications last year. Out of the tens of thousands of eligible artists, I think they gave out about, I forgot exactly how many grants, but they're not getting that many. There was 40 just for artists. They give out hundreds. So it's surprising that some major organizations like this one. That's what happened. So let's see. This is still in the months of April to June I'm talking about. You don't have to apply to all of them in June. Just get all the deadlines in order. It may stretch over several months or the whole year. Sometimes it's not easy to find the right grant. Maybe you have a question like, is this a good grant for me? Is it worth paying a $25 fee? As a praxis student, you get grant lists that are hand-picked to save you the hassle. You can also ask me questions about grants, and you can ask other experts in the group and members that may have already applied to that grant. If you're interested in getting that kind of support, wait until the end of the webinar because I put together something special just for you guys. So now patrons, let's talk about that. Where do you find them? What do you have to do to get them to support your work? Do you have to give them anything? Patrons are listed extensively in one place on museum websites under categories like benefactors, angels, a whole list of them. You'll see their names in their foundations. If you look at a local museum, those people are the wealthiest patrons that are most likely near you because that museum is near you. Or it could be an alternative space or an art center, whatever's near you. If you have to drive an hour, go there. Those are the wealthiest people within that range. Once you have their names, Google them and you'll get their phone number and you can learn about what they do. You can research them. You'll see what their foundation does. So there are three methods that you can use when writing to potential patrons. You can write a direct letter soliciting a donation, which is the most popular. You can write a letter asking for a brief meeting in a cafe, and you can write a letter or ask in person for a studio visit. So let's break that down. In one way, it's very straightforward. You write a letter to a patron and you either ask for a meeting or you ask directly for support of your practice or for a particular project. There is nothing they want in return except to see you flourish and to learn from you about your art and about art in general. They're in it for the long game, so it's a relationship to nurture. By the long game, I mean they would like to keep supporting you, right? Let's go through the three types of letters to write. A direct letter soliciting a donation is what I see students in Praxis Center do most often. And you'll see some of those students that I'll be showcasing a little bit later on in these slides. It's a letter introducing yourself as well as making clear you know who they are and asking directly for a donation to a residency or a particular project. Or you can also ask for a donation just to continue your studio practice. The letter should contain three things: who you are, what you need support for, and a very easy way to send money, which is, I suggest, if you're going to use email, you'd making a paypal.me link or address for a check to be sent. It's pretty straightforward. The other way to do it is to write a letter asking for a brief meeting in a cafe. And this type of letter, you're asking for a brief meeting, ideally in a cafe, very close to where they work, which will be their foundation. And this is a great way to start a long-lasting relationship. In that meeting, you have a conversation about both of you, and you also either ask for support right there or invite them for a studio visit and set up a date. Then there's writing a letter or asking in person for a studio visit. This letter asks directly for a studio visit, and it's the hardest to get the response you want because you're a stranger to them and you're inviting them into your home or studio for the first meeting. However, if you make it clear that they can bring a friend and that they will be in a comfortable, safe place, it can also be a great way to begin a relationship because it's exciting to be invited to something like that. And then you can ask for support either in person when they're in your studio or send a letter after the studio visit. So there's a secret to a successful ask. Patrons get pleasure out of giving away money. There is nothing they want in return but your dream to be realized. Remember, they set up these foundations. They're not trying to give money to get something. If they want to buy art, they can buy whatever art they want, and they probably already have a huge collection. It's not about that. It's about wanting to see someone else's dream realized. So when talking to in person, use this line. And this is, I'll tell you where I got this line. After showing some of your work, you can say, this is my dream. Have you ever thought of investing in a dream? Then pause, wait until they answer. And this is the moment in the conversation when things get exciting. Don't jump in to fill up the silence. Wait, and they'll say something like, no, I never thought of that. How does that work? Then you can explain to them what it means to be a patron, and that by supporting your dream for as little as $100 a month, they will be given, or 100 euros a month, they'll be given an inside track on your studio progress and how this dream blossoms. You could also tell them about a residency you're going to and ask for a one-time donation, like $5,000 to make this happen. This may seem hard to believe, but it's how artists of all types raise money all over the world. It's how patrons work with you. All it takes is bravery. And this one line about, this is my dream, have you ever thought about investing in a dream? I heard that from Ilya Kabakov. Ilya and Amelia Kabakov are a Russian duo, a team that work together, making drawings, sculptures, installations. They generally don't sell any of their art. They don't want to sell it. They work off patrons completely, not unlike Christo and the late John Claude, who I also knew her and know him. He does sell drawings, but he uses lines not similar to this, but Amelia told me this is what she says. This is our dream. Have you ever thought of investing in a dream? And she said they're financial people. They love that kind of question. So I hope you're writing this down or listening closely and have questions, because 1 or 2 conversations, like I just mentioned, could change your life. It will also make you feel like someone believes in you, because when a patron gives you money to do your residency or your next series of paintings, it's no different than saying in the clearest way possible, I believe in you. And that is powerful medicine for any artist, financially and emotionally. So my most popular and most expensive course, Patrons and Sponsors, is about how to build relationships with these people. In that course, you will have templates of letters you can use to write to patrons. So all you have to do is fill in the blanks. Then I will personally edit those letters to your patrons before you send them out. It's an $800 course, but because you're on this webinar, you might be able to get it for free. I put together a special membership bundle for you that includes this course, and I'll tell you more at the end when I answer every single one of your questions, because I want to make good on my promise today about the roadmap that explains all of the elements for international recognition. So first I have to finish that roadmap for you. Maybe you know what I'm going to say. How important do you think your belief in all this is, right? Your mindset. How important is your belief in your own greatness, in your own beauty, in your own talent? You believe in yourself enough to be here now. The next step is pure bravery. Bravery is not just a step on the roadmap here, it's the pavement of that map. It's the material the map is written on. How do we access the bravest parts of ourselves? We're not inventing it, right? It's already there. Just like courage itself, it's waiting for the moment it's needed. If you plan to do this roadmap after the webinar, you will be ready. And so it's the time to muster up that courage, that bravery, to use the map I haven't finished telling you about. If it is something that you can muster up, as they say, right? It's about intent, not nature. You know, if it's about intent, then I am sure you are most of the way there. Because at this moment, probably you intend to keep making art and exhibit it nationally and internationally. So hold on to this feeling and know that when you lose this feeling, you can indeed muster it up, call on it, and it will come to aid you, because your next step is to take actions. The trick to mustering up bravery is to know it's already inside you and to remind yourself of that all the time. Take at least that from this roadmap, this webinar. In the Praxis membership, you'll see lots of bravery in the group forums of artists and teachers you can interact with, and you will also see struggles with bravery and hesitation, and that's where the teachers and your fellow artists come in to support you and help you muster up that energy and that courage. But more on that later. Let's get on with this roadmap too. So June to September, as I'm laying this out, we are in the last 4 months of this 6-month roadmap. Now you have started your applications and you should have the funding to go. You are on a defined path, right? It's happening. So gallery exhibitions. Make a short list of galleries to visit that are not more than a 45-minute drive. This is one method that I'm going through. Visit those galleries and evaluate them by talking to the curator about the art. This is a method I use. You know, you don't have to walk into a gallery, and there's a number of methods, but you're just visiting galleries, right? You're interviewing them. You need to know, is this a good gallery? One way to know if it's a good gallery, besides the art you're seeing on the walls, you know, you're wondering also, could they sell my art? Are they selling this work? You're a person in there like anyone else, right? You walk into a gallery, they think you may or may not buy something, right? Maybe you're just looking. Say to the person at the front desk, can I talk to someone about that work on the wall over there? I have some questions. Ask them about the art. And then what will happen is they'll say, sure, hold on one moment. And either a curator will come running out from the back room, or that person sitting at the desk will be the curator or director. But they will immediately come to your attention and they'll say, tell me, what's your question? Then walk over to the art and say to them, what is this, tell me a little bit about this artist. And you know, you're an artist, so you can ask, you know, pretty intelligent questions about the medium itself. You can say to them, you know, what's this medium? How is this made? You know, a number of things. So talk to them, ask them about it. Ask them about who the artist is. Where else have they showed? And what's going to happen is they're going to talk to you and they're going to kind of sell you on that art. They're going to tell you about this artist, why he or she is interesting, and listen to how they're talking. Would you want them to talk about your art that way? Are you impressed with how they're talking to you? Because if you're not impressed, then that's not a gallery you even want to ask, right? And if you are impressed, well, that's good to know. You're getting to know this gallery. You don't have to give them your name, your card, nothing. You can just say thank you very much and leave. Then after you do that, call them up when you get home and ask this simple question to the galleries that you like. Just say, do you look at the work of new artists? That's the whole question. Do you look at the work of new artists? You don't have to give your name or anything. This is on the phone. If the answer is no, that's okay. It's nothing personal, right? If the answer is yes, then ask who to send work to and ask how they like to see images. Do they want them attached to an email or a website? Sometimes they just want 3 images attached to an email because websites can be a lot to go through. So once you're in one of those galleries on your list, as I was saying, I would suggest you just look around, pick up the information about the artist being exhibited, and if you're feeling brave, as I was saying, ask the person at the front desk if you can talk to someone about the art. Point to a particular piece. You will find that the director or head of the gallery will come right out and just explain you're interested in knowing more about this work. Point to it. Ask who the artist is, how the work was made, or question about the medium or message of the work. And again, listen carefully to how they're talking. Do you like the way they're talking? Would you like to be talked about that way? You're getting a feel for how they sell. Again, no need to mention that you're an artist. You're just asking questions. And at the end, say, thank you very much for your time. Maybe look around a bit more and then leave. And then again, after those 3 steps, send in what the galleries say. You go home, you make that call, like your website or images, then follow up by going to the gallery or writing an email and asking if they saw the work you sent and if they had any questions or interest in the work. Keep asking until you get an answer. Do not accept silence for an answer. Usually silence is just a sign of an overworked person, and there's a lot of overworked people out there. If you do that with all 6 galleries so that you have in your list, you will find you have some real favorites, and it's probably because you liked the way they talked about art. The next step is to call the remaining galleries that you liked on the phone. Remember, courage, time to muster it up. Use the method I taught you to contact those 6 galleries. Use them as your training wheels so you don't feel like a fish out of the water when you have to do this overseas with foreign galleries during your residencies. And by the way, if they ask you, who are you, what do you do, or anything like that, you can say, I'm just looking at this work. You don't have to give them any information you don't want to do. I'm looking for a friend. It's the same process everywhere. Contact the gallery the right way, send in the right materials so they can see your art. In these last 4 months, while you wait for your residency to start, you can practice presenting yourself to a curator. You can do this with a friend and ask your friend to pretend they're a curator at artist studios, preferably another artist who understands what a curator is. Remember the touchstones, your work, your interests. Listen to the curator closely. Praxis Center is here to help with this difficult step with preparing for a curator. Besides the resources, there's a chance to present yourself for feedback, so this process of preparing is even easier. More on that later, but for now, there is more work to do in the last 4 months of this roadmap. In Praxis Center, there's a gallerist to answer all your questions and presentations, so you can test out your presentations beforehand, like your bio and statement and pitch and other questions you may have, so you get it right the first time. But the roadmap isn't done. In the last few months, you are at the residency, so there's more preparation to do. One directory for biennials is called Universe in Universe, and they have a regular listing of biennials and their curators and their themes. They all have themes. This is what the front page of their website looks like. There's biennials all over the world. They're everywhere, and you can, click through and learn about the curators and their themes. Another one is the directory of biennials, and this is what their front page looks like. Huge list of biennials. It's a huge long page, and you can go through all of them, and you can see all about what's happening at these different biennials. A lot of them have application procedures, all kinds of things. Some biennials have ways to apply, others do not. For the ones that do not have a way of applying, you can do what I did to get into the Whitney Biennial. Write the curator a letter. It's really that simple. I had no reputation, no gallery representation, and I got in. Biennials give you an international stage and can be a huge boost to visibility in an artist's career. They are the most prestigious form of international visibility. So check to see if there are any biennials during your residency. Time, plan, and apply for them ahead of time. Now, showing in a nonprofit center is also a community experience, right? Biennials are nonprofits, but you'll also make new friends. So where do you also find these nonprofit centers that may be local to you? You look up your local state council on the arts in the United States, or in Europe, or around the globe, there are art councils and ministries of culture. Look them up and either call or go to their websites, and you'll see the nonprofits in your region. Students do this in Praxis Center all the time. They're connected with incredible resources. The nonprofits you will find support visual arts, dance, film, theater, and more. In most cases, there's an application to fill out, and that's all. In the US, the National Endowments for the Arts has a great directory, which looks a bit like this, but this is national, right? A huge, long thing, and they're talking about all the state councils and all kinds of things here. This is the National Endowment, but again, there's state councils, there's city councils, ministries of culture in Europe, and all over the world. So you can begin with just one nonprofit, learn how to apply, and then take your time with the first application. Because the most important thing in an application to nonprofit exhibitions is how you present yourself as a serious artist that has something to say. Because they're not interested in sales, they're interested in good art. So that's a very different kind of take than a commercial gallery. Once you apply for a few, the rest are easy and even fun to apply for. The first step is the hardest, but isn't that always the case? As a member of Praxis Center, you'll get support for your biennial aspirations, as feedback to make your presentation that much better so you can have a better chance of getting in. The roadmap is nearing its end, but do you remember where we started? Now you see what's happening here as it fits into your step-by-step roadmap. So the Praxis method brings together all these elements so you can know for sure that you're presenting yourself professionally and that you're presenting yourself in the best possible light. Also, it's a method that you can use over and over again once your website, mindset, application materials, and ability to have a conversation with a curator are in place. Now you also have a 6-month plan to do it all. So that was the Insider Roadmap I promised, step-by-step in 9 steps. That's exactly what you need to do to get your international residency exhibit in the next 6 months, plus $5,000 from a patron to fund it. As I mentioned throughout, if you need specialized help with the how-to, the correct execution of those steps, don't worry, I've got your back. I've put together a special program to help you with that, which I'm going to explain and then answer your questions. So I know, is your head exploding yet? This was a lot, right? So let me ask you this. If there was a breathtakingly easy way to navigate the highest tiers of the art world without endless phone calls, emails, and other business stuff so that you can exhibit more, make sales, and finally get the recognition you deserve instead of being seen as just a minor artist in as little as 1 year, would you take it? Even if you think, I can't write, that's why I'm an artist, and that's why I never get grants or residencies or anything else, or who knows, maybe my art isn't good enough or trendy enough. Even if you can't go to every show because you're older or disabled or not near a big city, even if you don't have too much art in storage and must work all day to pay the bills and your spouse is not supportive, even if you tried all this before and it never seems to work and you always end up in the same place with less money, more rejections. It sounds a bit out there, right? Allow me to introduce a case study. This is Ruth. If the volume's low, I will explain to you what she said afterwards. Hmm. Hmm.
Phenomenal. Many people doing what I'm doing, and many more people doing far more than what I'm doing. So I learn a lot from them. But also from the workshops that Brainerd has, as well as the professionals that come in to teach these workshops. It's really kept me on top of the latest information about how to get into museums and grant writing and on and on and on. Anyhow, thank you, Brainerd. I love Praxis, and thank you for starting it.
Okay, I had a little trouble with the sound there. Let me see. She was talking about Praxis Center, and whoops, hang on just a second here. She was talking about Praxis Center, and explaining what that she got a lot of support and help there. Here's another one. I don't think I have any more videos. I want to thank everybody for their encouragement. Okay, if you want me to play it again, let me see if I can play it one more time. Maybe you'll hear it, but the sound is a little bit low. I don't seem to be able to turn it up more.
Hi, my name is Ruth Chase, and I'm a visual artist. I have been in Praxis for 2 years, and what I have gotten out of it is mostly the community. I mean, I live in a small town, and a lot of my work really isn't relatable to where I live. So the community of artists has been phenomenal. Many people doing what I'm doing, and many more people doing far more than what I'm doing. So I learn a lot from them. But also from the workshops that Brainerd has, as well as the professionals that come in to teach these workshops. It's really kept me on top of the latest information about how to get into museums and grant writing and on and on and on. Anyhow, thank you, Brainerd. I love Praxis, and
So Ruth is talking about support here as being critical to her success, but she also reached other concrete goals like sending out press releases edited in Praxis Center, which got her radio interviews, a local feature in the press, and invitations from galleries out of the blue, which she attributed to an updated website and rewritten art statements. Here's another case study. I want to thank everyone, Barry says, for their encouragement. He's Canadian. Over the past month, I finally got up the nerve Friday to send out my letters, and they landed in mailboxes. Today, I got my first $1,600 promised tonight over the phone. Yippee! Brainerd Carey was so right. I was thanked repeatedly for allowing my work to be sponsored. Talk about being excited. Wow. I did my email campaign last night, and very early this morning, I got my first response back. I've had emails, texts, and phone calls all day asking questions. I don't know where all of this is going, but it's a fun ride. If you've been sitting on the fence with sending out your letters, just do it. Heaven knows I've been sick worrying about it. What a waste of my time. Now, to be clear, he was someone who was very hesitant to send out his letters to patrons. And the group encouraged him to do it, not just me, the group. And I'm going to have another update for him because he raised quite a bit more. Here's another one, Noah Saunders. Hey, gang, these are all quotes from your Praxis members also have a private Facebook group that only they see. And so you can interact and ask questions in there. Hey, gang, keeping you up to date. So my career has taken off. I am, as of September 22nd, an international artist. As awesome as this is for me, I haven't stopped there. I'm using this success and the doors it's opened for me to expand new ways for people to conceive the art scene, both within and without of my home community, Athens, Georgia. I'm actively working with the Athens Conventions and Visitors Bureau, the local government, the Luxembourg Consul of Georgia. That's where he got the grant, residency, and purchase, to name a few, to do what I can to give back to the community. His idea is that artists not only live in Georgia, they thrive. Now, the Luxembourg Art Prize is a national prize that was organized by a not-for-profit. The winner gets a grant of $25,000. Finalists' expenses are paid there and back. So it was a great it was a great opportunity for him. He got to work sold, travel, everything. So what if I told you it takes less time a week than your grocery shopping? Typically, an artist in the school sees rapid progress in a year, just working at this 30 minutes a week. What if I told you it's as easy as filling in the blanks? You get templates for contacting patrons, for writing letters to galleries, as well as scripts for calling them. All you have to do is fill them out. It's almost done for you. What if I told you even a first-year art student with no experience can do it without any training, or a mid-career or advanced artist? That you won't even have to make endless phone calls, emails, and business stuff, because I know you just want to make art, not spend all your time promoting it. That you don't even need to be young, beautiful, big city artists with trendy avant-garde work. That all it takes to get is to have a little faith, that those who have the faith and take the leap are rewarded with exhibits and patrons and grants and prestigious biennials and press and sales. It seems impossible, right? So here's more people in the group. Christine did a group show last Friday at a local gallery. Patricia, confirmation of my first sponsor donation. Yael, I'm thrilled to be included as one of 14 new exhibition lobbies at the Oakman Building in New Jersey. Ruth, who you heard from before, I just found out that I was accepted into my first museum through a regional call. Noah, who got the Luxembourg prize. He was not only had an all expenses paid trip to Luxembourg and back, they purchased one of his pieces of art there, and he got $25,000, the Luxembourg Art Prize. Jeffrey, Supreme Court Long Island Beach has been selected as the grand prize in the Humans exhibition. Andre, I've been accepted to the Sedona Summer Colony Artist Residency. I'm thrilled to get the opportunity to broaden my perspective. I hope to meet patrons and sponsors at the Sedona Art Center and possibly gallery owners there too. Jennifer, thrilled to announce she's been awarded a month-long residency in New Zealand. Kara, since so many others are sharing, what's what happens? People start sharing their things, other people start sharing it. I've been accepted into the Tony Onley Artist Project in Wells this July. I have also been given a scholarship to attend. I'm excited and nervous to have this opportunity to be away from my family responsibilities for 10 days to focus entirely on my art. She has a family. She has responsibilities. And yeah, she got 10 days away. Was something to, of course, negotiate with her family. I'm looking forward to meeting and learning from the mentoring artists, Lisa Milroy, Jen Mann, as well as the others. This is my first time attending a residency and the first time I'll be in studio space since graduating in 2000. Laura says she got 1,500 using this letter. It was approved by Fractured Atlas. Her letter is there. She's adapting templates, but you'll see what people use. And this happened. Coverage in the national newspaper, The Times, through press release I forwarded to a journalist. About $50 in-kind sponsorship from a grocer. Allison, she sent out a few emails, got her first PayPal donation a few minutes ago. Thank you, Brainerd Carey, for telling me on Monday about the PayPal.me link. For those who haven't used it yet, it's easy, quick, and efficient. Sarah, put out letters to local businesses to sponsor her upcoming Bay Area performance of my one-woman show, and so far, $100 for sponsorship, one for $200. She's so excited. That's the hard part. Her first $300. She raised over $8,000. She continues to do this. Barbara sold 5 prints of the Judy Ellis Glickman Lauder collection, had an exhibit in Portland, Maine, where they're associated. The curator showed them the body of work. That's my first sale of the work. She's a photographer from the American Bedroom. As soon as I landed on my feet from a long trip in the South, I want to learn more from Praxis about galleries, museums, and patrons. Lance Jackson got 400 in donations and sold a drawing. Sometimes, with the whole patron process, you end up selling art also to people they want to purchase, not just give you money. Alexander received $1,000 today. There was a face-to-face conversation showing the letter I was preparing to send, and he just sat there and wrote out 2 money orders. So, if you want to, wake up to an email from a gallery asking to exhibit your work, or start your day by making art instead of business stuff. Decide to, and because a check for that $10,000 grant you applied for just came through in the mail, or decide to go to a lunch to a patron and a collector friend of his wants to purchase multiple pieces without having to worry about what to say or how to present your work, Or you want to go to bed gratified and satisfied, feeling like a rising star who's finally getting the recognition she deserves in the art world. Go through your week with more time in the studio, right? Less resentment at the art market because other people are believing in you now and proving it by buying your work or being a patron. Making it a habit to go for a leisurely stroll in your studio on a Monday doesn't seem so far-fetched anymore. Your calendar for the year says the artist has made it. A winter residency in Berlin, then an exhibit, then off to see the Venice Biennial and a few other major art biennials around the globe, and a summer residency in Italy or Holland, all funded in full by your sponsors. I want that for you, right here, right now. So introducing the Praxis Center membership, very limited just for you guys today. Everything you need to make it in one place in the art world. It shows how the art world really works, lots more details, and this was a big talk, right? So you can get more exhibitions, more recognition, and more sales this year. It helps you get into prestigious shows and museums and biennials and finally get the kind of international recognition and raving reviews that actually lead to sales. It helps you get grants and sponsors and patrons to support your work with personal support from professional editors, gallerists, and grant writers without the need to do endless phone calls, emails, and business stuff. Without the need to face humiliating rejection and the dreaded silence of an email that hasn't been responded to. In as little as 1 year, even if your work, again, isn't trendy or avant-garde, even if you can't write or network or negotiate and suck at all the business stuff, even if you can't go out to shows all the time because you're older or disabled or somehow not able to because you're not near a big city. Seems impossible? Allow me to introduce Barry. Remember him? Today has been a whirlwind type of day. I have lots I want to share with all of you, but the details are not finalized yet. But I will tell you my project was completely funded by one patron today. All $17,600. I still have the other $1,600 coming in the mail this week. I still can't believe it. Thank you, Brainerd Carey, for teaching this class, and I want to thank all of you that nudged me to jump in and do it. Now again, he wrote the letter. I edited it, used a template that I had. I edited his writing. Even when he was ready, he didn't want to jump in. He's like, I don't know. I'm just hesitant to send this out. I don't know what people will think of me. He was doing a series of paintings is what he wanted this for. And, it took encouragement, not just from me, but from the group. Jennifer, greetings. I'm new to the group and I've stalled beginning this program for many reasons. A lot of people want to jump into the patrons right away. But the sad truth is I'd rather chew off my own leg than ask for money. Last night I forced myself to ask a local radio station with your templates, and what do you know? I got $500 in free airtime for my project, and here I am standing on two legs. I can do this. I'm even looking forward to doing this. Rose was offered a major solo show at a college completely out of the blue because the curator found my work online. Today I got an email from the producer of Maryland's public TV artwork series, and they want to feature my work. I know it's local, but I watched that show, and if you're into art, it's kind of a big deal here. After I got done freaking out, I realized that all of this is happening after I updated my bio and artist statement with the help of Brainerd Carey and Cheryl McGinnis. It cannot be a coincidence. I took my work to the next level as of September when I started doing landscapes, and this was like my 8th attempt at getting the artist statement right. But all of this processing of who I am as an artist really helped me make my authenticity shine through and be something that people really wanted was done as a result of this group. I have been a member for almost a year. All I can say is keep going, keep upping your game, making authentic, truly original work. Listen to Brainerd and Cheryl. Julia Tolstrup is the editor in the class on presenting that work. If you are called to be an artist, it's not an easy road, but it's a sacred duty, and you can get there. People tend to be really encouraging. There's another video from Sarah. Again, the volume may be low, so bear with me. I'll tell you what she said afterwards. I can't seem to get the volume any higher. She's the one that raised $8,000 and counting, and she talks about that here.
Hey there, I'm Sarah Kennedy. I'm a student at the Praxis Center with Brainerd Carey. I took the course, the Patrons and Sponsors course, and I just want to say it's been a total game changer for me as an artist. I went from feeling like it was annoying if I tried to ask for money for my art to feeling really confident and comfortable asking for money. It's been a total mind shift for me. And so far, using the methods that I learned on the patrons and sponsors class, I've raised almost $7,000 for my one-woman show, and I feel like I'm just at the beginning. I feel really confident that I can raise more money, and being a part of the community has been so helpful. Getting help from Reynard, learning all of his methods. I highly recommend it if you're an artist.
So if you didn't hear all of that, Sarah was talking about that she was taking the patrons and sponsors course. It turned her around from thinking that it was just a total drag to ask for money to a paradigm shift, a real shift in thinking that enabled her to not only raise the money and keep raising it. So here's the small gems in addition of what you'll get in the Praxis membership. How to use these insider tactics for a never-ending supply of exhibits in galleries, museums, and biennials. Why you need to question every single person who tells you to work for free to get exposure, and what to do instead if you want recognition from art critics, glowing reviews over the press, and powerful curators. What never to do in artist statements, bios, and press releases if you want to avoid rejections, and idiot-proof ways to get sponsors and patrons so that you can finally get funding for your practice and make art without financial pressure. The letters are written. The simple test that instantly identifies 5 application landmines that you have been stepping on all these years, which is why you don't get grants. And 10 little tricks that once understood and practiced will make you a master of getting attention online so that everyone knows who you are and what kind of art you make and tells you so in comments. You also get 9 online courses. You can take them at whatever rate you want. So you can learn how the art world really works from the comfort of your home at your own pace without paying for travel or lodging. These are the courses. Getting your art exhibited is step-by-step guide to approaching galleries and getting your work shown, letter templates, word-for-word scripts to call galleries, in a virtual classroom where you can ask questions and get personal feedback. Grant writing, how to find, write, and win grant applications. By the end of the course, you will have a completed grant that you can be proud of, plus fresh grant lists and opportunities every month. Artist statements, bios, and press releases, you'll learn how to write yours, so grant agencies, galleries, and journalists can't help but call you back. Plus, an editor will personally edit your statement and bio. Social media strategy and web design. You get website reviews, a step to build or redesign your website, social media secrets to get you discovered online with minimum effort, and there's a class in selling art online that'll take you by the hand and walk you through every step you need to build an online sales strategy and become a business representative for your art. Kickstarter, all you need to know about launching a successful Kickstarter project, including how to contact celebrities and high-profile individuals. Time management, about how to effectively manage this. Because if you want to do a ton of things, it takes time management. It's, and you don't want to spend all your time doing this coursework. You want to spend it in the studio. Taxes and financial planning, from choosing an accountant to investing, estate planning, and the importance of good credit. There's also a class in art theory and essential reading. Books to read and discuss, which will give context to your work and help you with writing about it. It's what they get in classes like the Whitney Independent Study. It's what artists know all over the world that are in biennials. They're all reading the same books. So with these industry tactics, you go from, I give up, I'm going to paint in obscurity, right? The art market is bullshit anyway, to, wow, I've made it. I'm actually an internationally successful artist now. Like Noah, like all the people that I went through in as little as 1 year. But that's not all. There's a lot to this membership. You also get 23 expert lectures from curators on residencies, dealers, critics, grant writers, New York gallerists, so you can discover the kind of secrets that make or break an art career. These are some of the video lectures. There's actually more in there now about everything from email and closing sales to pricing, everything. And you can ask all of these expert questions in the group and they will answer. So you can find the right way forward if you get lost or confused, right? Or frustrated as you navigate the higher tiers of the art market. There is a gallerist, a dealer, a curator, and a writer who are there to ask questions. And there's a new expert talk each month. So for the first time, insider secrets about the art world game is taught directly by people who have succeeded at what they teach. Like gallerists showing you how to get into a gallery, or grant writers It's explaining how to make a good proposal, a great one. So you know what really works. And the answer to how did that mediocre artist get that? And an editor will personally edit your artist statement and bio so you can stand out from the crowd and wow grant agencies and galleries. And there's a kind of Dear Abby, right? You're not sure what to read into a gallery's response? Ask a professional gallerist in the group. Never again spend weeks agonizing over what to do and whether they hate your work. There's new lists published every month of grants and residencies, so you're the first to know and you don't have to waste your time researching all of this when a grant or residency is accepting applications. There's a private community of artists, a private Facebook group, and teachers, so you don't feel isolated in your practice and you get the emotional and practical support you need to thrive. It's just people are so supportive and cool in there. You know, without a support system, it's almost impossible, right? Even Van Gogh had Theo. But who do you have? You'll also get a copy of my book, Making It in the Art World. And the most, oh my God, is this for real? Is the Patrons and Sponsor course. Imagine how your practice would change if you knew how to find potential local patrons and meet them and befriended these people and created lasting relationships, right? Mastered the art of approaching businesses for sponsorship, all while creating a valuable network. And, you know, there's a professional editor, which is me, continued support as long as you remain in the program so you can keep getting your letters and applications edited. And if you're not sure what to read into a response, you know, that's my expertise in this whole thing. I'm director of the center, but patrons and sponsors I'm really big on. I'll review all your communications and your letters. Get your artist website reviewed also by me personally as part of it. You'll have VIP access to all of my future books, and the publisher keeps asking me for more on, he actually keeps asking me for a book on every one of the courses that I teach. They're popular. You'll get advanced digital review copies for free, like art critics and curators get in authors' inner circles. So that amounts to a realistic value of what? $6,570 or $547 a month, but I'm not charging you that. Not even a quarter of that. And I'll give you 10 times more value, more impact, and more results. But there's a catch. You can only get this in the next 3 days. After that, the price goes back to full. And I'm going to answer all your questions in a minute. I'll say a few more things about the school. It's $59 a month. Or you can do it annually for $595. Right now, you can get this membership for $59 a month, this VIP edition. And these are all the bonuses you get, the non-online courses, the 7 bonuses, plus the VIP things only offered today, which is all the patrons and sponsors material. You can get it all instantly, start using it within the next 60 seconds, and start seeing results. So there's a few hard questions to answer. Would you rather get exhibited internationally or keep dealing with how unfair the art world is as you pay another month's storage fees, right, for unsold artwork? Would you rather be a starving artist, toils away in obscurity, or an international artist everyone envies with generous patrons and sponsors? Would you rather have a small cramped studio in an apartment or a big studio in a comfortable home? Because that's what it boils down to always in this life, right? Choices. If all this system does is to get you the freedom to be, do, or live the way you desire, or get you from toiling away in obscurity to getting the peer recognition and commercial success you deserve, or finally allow you to break free from paying for a show and not selling art, would you agree that $59 a month is a tiny price to pay? It's almost insignificant, really. You have 3 options at this point. You can choose to hire a high-priced consultant and pay them thousands with no guarantees. You can choose to do it on your own, just cool, with no help. Then there's the dreaded silence often, right? Unreturned emails leaving you without wind in your sails. You can choose to change paths altogether and get an MFA with no courses on how to get your work sold and end up in the same place, less money, more rejections. The choice is yours. I should remind you there is absolutely no risk for you to try this. Literally 0 negative consequences. You can buy without worrying about losing your money. We offer a 30-day guarantee. Nothing to lose there for 30 days. Your dignity. We don't shame you for refunding. You can just try it if you want. There's you'll lose zero. The only thing you stand to lose is the humiliation of rejection, right? Of obscurity, of watching artists who are worse than you making more. So unless you enjoy getting hassled by a partner to give up already because you're not showing or selling art and being miserable is your preferred state of being, I'm going to give you a link soon so you can join if you like. I know the links on the screen won't click, but it's so you can do what Barry did. Raised 17,000, more than that, because he got overfunded. So you can overcome what Rose overcame. So you can have the life Ruth chose for herself. This is your chance, and now is your time. I'm going to answer all your questions now. These are the links right here to sign up. There's a limited amount of whoops, let me see. Am I doing this right? Do you guys wait a minute. Okay. There they are. Those are the links to sign up if you want this, and I'm going to answer all your questions. I do have lists of all the curators that I've interviewed. Absolutely. Let's see. So tell me your questions.